the Redemption Church. He says he's leaning in your favor. He also likes some of Donald Trump's policies. Pastor, welcome.
Good evening, Senator.
Pastor.
As we see more and more what appears to be more and more opposition to Christian conservative values,
yes,
what will you do to help protect those values if you're elected president?
Well, Pastor, thank you for being here. Thank you for your ministry. You are right. We are seeing an assault on Judeo-Christian values. We're seeing an assault on religious liberty. And we need a president who will stand up unambiguously and protect those values. You know, if you look at life, if you look at marriage, if you look at religious liberty, all three are intertwined. And, you know, one of the dynamics you all have noticed in a Republican primary is every Republican candidate says they support life, marriage, religious liberty. That's what you say when you're running as a Republican candidate for president. My suggestion, Pastor, is don't listen to what any of us say. Instead, follow the biblical test. You shall know them by their fruits. Ask of any candidate, don't tell me you're pro-life. Tell me what you've done to defend the right to life. So, for example, before I was in the Senate, I was the Solicitor General of Texas, the chief lawyer for the state in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. We brought together a coalition of states before the U.S. Supreme Court defending the federal ban on partial birth abortion. And we won 5-4. We brought together another coalition of states defending New Hampshire's parental notification law. And we won unanimously. And in Texas, when the state legislature passed a law banning taxpayer funding going to Planned Parenthood, a federal district court struck down that law. And I personally argued the appeal in the Court of Appeals. We won unanimously, reinstating that law and defunding Planned Parenthood. So on the question of life, a record matters. Likewise on marriage. You know, in June of last year, we saw a decision from the Supreme Court. It was nothing short of tragic. Now, several of the Republican candidates, when that decision came down, put out statements that essentially said, it is the settled law of the land. We must accept it, surrender, and move on. Those are almost word for word the talking points of Barack Obama. I think there's something really wrong when Republican candidates are echoing the talking points of Barack Obama. I'll tell you, my view is very different. I think that decision was fundamentally illegitimate. It was lawless. It was completely inconsistent with the Constitution, and it will not stand. And then on religious liberty. Religious liberty for me has been a lifelong passion. I have spent the last 2 decades of my life fighting to defend religious liberty. When I was Solicitor General of Texas, we defended the Ten Commandments Monument. It stands on the state capitol grounds. We went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we won 5-4 upholding the Ten Commandments. We defended the Pledge of Allegiance, the words, one nation under God. We went to the U.S. Supreme Court. We won unanimously. And then in private practice, one of the cases I'm most proud of is I represented over 3 million veterans pro bono for free, defending the Mojave Desert Veterans Memorial. This is a lone white Latin cross. It was erected over 70 years ago to honor the men and women that gave their lives in World War I. The ACLU sued, arguing that you could not display a cross on public land. They won in the district court. They won in the Court of Appeals. The court ordered a giant sack to be placed over the Veterans Memorial with a chain and a padlock at the bottom. And I represented 3 million veterans before the U.S. Supreme Court defending the Mojave Desert Veterans Memorial. And we won 5-4. This, for me, is a life passion. And, you know, one of the things we've done, the media often belittles threats to religious liberty. They say they don't exist, they're not real. So we've hosted big religious liberty rallies, one in Iowa, one here in South Carolina at Bob Jones University, where we brought in heroes. Ordinary people, a florist, a baker, a T-shirt salesman, a soldier, a fireman, to tell their stories. How they stood for faith and they were persecuted. I would commend to you, Pastor, and anyone else that wants to see them, if you go to our website, it's tedcruz.org, you can watch these stories and they will uplift you, they will inspire you. How people made a decision, do I honor my faith or do I give in to the government and be persecuted? And they chose to honor their faith instead. And so when it comes to religious liberty, if I'm elected president, I intend on the first day in office to instruct the U.S. Department of Justice and the IRS and every other federal agency that the persecution of religious liberty ends today.
I want you to meet